what's the?
Because
27.
that's clearly wrong.
Oh, in 1 year.
You ended up getting a vote from that family anyway. I got to tell you the story after they.
Is that the?
You enjoy it.
I figured it was Elizabeth's vote.
It was.
Oh, yeah.
How did you know? I was like,
You ready?
this approves whether or not
Everybody's
he
in?
likes being on the footing.
Figure out what day it is. What's that? Yeah. Okay, everybody, it's Thursday, June 15th, regular meeting of the Winthrop Town Council. It's 7:45, and we're gonna start off tonight and every night from now on, with pledge of allegiance. Okay. Ready? Okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, hallelujah.
Now, did anybody pick up on the way in? Oh, yeah, I can't work out my glasses. Did anybody pick up on the way in something called public comment during town council meetings? I just read it.
No, that's for you.
What?
That's for you.
What? It's for everybody
That's
to
for
know.
you to read
It's for you to.
You want me to read it? Okay.
to yourself.
No, I drafted it.
Okay,
I know what it says.
okay.
Everybody else has got to know what it says.
All right.
If we, what?
It's my phone, sir.
Yeah, I gotta get closer. Okay, we've been drifting around a lot on the public comment policy. Some of that's my fault. I've been bouncing back and forth, trying to please everybody. And the result of that, of course, is didn't please everybody. So I come up with a permanent policy, and I'm gonna read it out now, and we're gonna try to stick to this indefinitely. The first item on the agenda tonight will be public comments. One per person, no longer than 3 minutes, for matters not on the agenda. What that means is, we want to hear what you're thinking, what do you want us to put on the agenda next time? What complaints did you run into since the last meeting? What do you think of us if it's good? Okay, those kinds of things. The next thing is during the meeting, comments on agenda items only, and that is the agenda that's under action, okay? These comments are at the chair's discretion. Generally, they'll be no longer than 3 minutes. All right, and the comments, like I said, must be related to the public, the topic currently being discussed. All right, and then it's at the chair's discretion, and one of the reasons for that is I might need to make an accommodation for someone with a disability or something like that, give them more time. All right, okay, number 3, at the conclusion of the meeting, according to the rules of the town council, following the conduct of all the council's business items, anyone may speak on any subject for 3 minutes per person, one time. Okay, and then preparing to offer public comments, speakers should queue up at the podium, speak directly into the mic. The chair will not recognize people seeking to speak from the audience unless the chair sees an obvious need for a specific response, although with someone that's not so mobile, those kinds of things. And I'm gonna, now that the podium's been moved, I think that I'm gonna try to make a sign to reserve the first couple seats near the podium in the front row for handicap seats. No one has to move right now. So, and that's why I said the chair may make allowances for people in special circumstances. And then the other thing, and this is important, all the comments should be addressed to the chair. Okay, that's not because I want to be the big cheese, okay? That's because when people start addressing each other, it ends up getting into, you're making personal comments, okay? And then you have personal arguments, and we want to avoid that, okay? I'm in the hot seat, so I can take the heat, and then if a question needs to be redirected to a board member, or even possibly an audience member, I can do that. All right, that's it. And copies of this are available if you want them. Okay, roll call. Everyone's present tonight. I'm not going to read off the names. We have a new member, Roy Weymouth. stand up and get your clap. All right. All right, and now, we only really have one solid item on the agenda, and that's item 116, consideration of forming an ad hoc mooring committee, advisory committee, and other matters related to the mooring ordinance. Okay, and then we have a suggested motion, which we need a lot to read.
I'll make the motion to repeal the mooring ordinance and establish an ad hoc mooring advisory committee to thoroughly review the existing ordinance language and report back to the town council with recommendations in 1 year.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Chalk on the whiteboard. Any, there's no discussion? Okay, all that are in favor?
I'm gonna recuse myself.
Okay. All right, so
Any
let the record show
opposed?
that.
Any opposed?
There aren't any opposed?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Andy, you didn't look around the front. She's did her hand up.
All right, one recusal, Elizabeth is opposed, everyone else is in favor.
I'd like to make another motion to have Anthony, who else has their thing on?
Yeah, so
Please have another. Andy, are you still on?
yeah,
So you need to turn yours off if I'm on. Thank you.
okay,
I'd like to make a motion that we direct Anthony to draft a houseboat ordinance and have it presented to the next council meeting, at the next council meeting on June 27th. For us to review that. Second.
okay, any discussion, any discussion? I just have one comment, I think the ordinance is gonna want to address appropriation of Airbnb type houseboat rentals, and the ordinance is gonna want to address whether sewage and other trash are being properly disposed of. Perhaps even we're gonna just decide that there aren't gonna be any overnight. James?
Yeah, I just got wow. I got a quick question about, you saying we're asking Anthony to draft something, or are we asking you to, how's that gonna be drawn up?
So, luckily, I've already crafted such an ordinance once in another town, so we'll probably use that as a template for your consideration.
Sounds.
That's the protection.
And in fact,
No, I-
and in fact, it's a good question, Jim, but also our attorney, I worked with him on that, so he's got a background in that ordinance as well.
Super, thank you.
So we have to vote on that. Vote on that.
Yeah, we do. You're right. So, if there's no further discussion, all that are in favor? Okay. Bruce? Yeah, let the record show all are in favor. I gotta write this down a little bit. All right, we have, for other business, just the manager's report. Before we get that far, does anyone have any comments? Go ahead, David.
I don't sense a committee.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, so, good question, Dave. And at this next meeting, it's going to be, actually be on my report here that I was just about to issue. But the council is going to be discussing the makeup of that committee at its next meeting on June 27th. So some time to reflect on what the right calculus might be for the membership. They're going to discuss that at the next meeting, and that will give our appointments committee the charge that they will need in order to go out and find the members.
Dumb question, is it the 27th or Tuesday?
It is. And so we're meeting on a Tuesday in order to accommodate some other things that are going on in the community.
Thank you.
We felt it should be on the agenda and it should be a part of a public process, so.
So, anyone else? Come on up.
Sorry.
You would please give your name.
David Costa.
Okay,
I don't really need it. I don't read it. You do need it for the people
It's the
online.
people that are on Zoom.
Yeah. So just
So
take that
David,
out.
yeah, if you'll take it out and just hold it close.
My question is in regards to the, I guess.
David, it might not be on.
I don't think it might.
Do you want me to do it, Anthony?
Sure.
Okay.
Right, Dave. It's on.
David Casa, Memorial Drive. Perfect.
Well, maybe the battery has died. Okay, so.
You can talk into this one if you want, Dave.
I'm good. So my question has to do with the mooring ordinance, I guess.
Dave, I'm sorry, we have quite a few people online. Yeah, I won't hear you if you don't talk into a mic.
It's not working.
I'll go up there if you want.
Yeah, if you do, please.
You can have my seat.
Oh, God, there we go.
I really don't want to see, go ahead. So my question is, is it just gonna look strictly at the moorings? Because, and the reason I bring this up is, I sent a letter to the previous town manager, the interim town manager, regarding moorings, docks, so on and so forth, and my concern, I mean, I know everything that's been going on, but one of the things is on the other side of Moorings, along the railroad tracks, there's several moorings and docks that have propped up over there. And I don't know, I assume you're aware that the railroad is planning to fix the tracks and they want to go through at a lot higher speed than they've been going through.
I'm aware.
And my concern is, I mean, the railroad tracks is supposed to be off limits, no trespassing and all that, and a lot of people are crossing the railroad tracks to get the docks and moorings all along there. And I'm concerned about what's the town's liability if someone gets hit over there if all those moorings and docks are allowed over there. So, I mean, I guess I'll leave it at that, but I was kind of hoping that it would get addressed when you have the committee.
Well, you just gave us another, a few more notes to take about what to do when we
Okay,
start over
Would you like to
again.
be on the committee?
I would, but I have a lot of commitments and I don't think I could be productive because.
Well, first, against the law to go on the railroad tracks, and that shouldn't be the town's fault if somebody's going and going across the thing, that's their fault.
And I totally agree
Yeah,
with
no,
you
yeah.
on that, but my question that was in my letter, and I don't know, the new town manager, I assume you have those old emails, you might want.
Been here 9 days.
I'm aware,
He's already tired.
but when I moved to town 17 years ago, I was required to get a dock permit to put a dock in Moorings. And so I'm assuming other people need dock permits to do that. And if the town's allowing it, then we're a part of it. And if they didn't get a permit, well, then that's a code enforcement issue, I assume. But I mean, that's my big concern. So anyway, I brought it to your attention. Yeah, I just wanted to have it on the
All
record.
right, thank you.
Okay.
That's something we can.
Code enforcement is a little overwhelmed at this point, and we are in the process of hiring a secretary for both Mark and the town manager. Free up a little more time to work on those kinds of enforcement issues. In the now suspended or repealed mooring ordinance, it said you couldn't put a mooring on property you didn't own, and the railroad obviously owns that property. So, maybe that will get reincarnated, I don't know. All right, but let's put it this way, we are aware of that issue. That's all I have. Any other questions? Comments?
Who's ready for a town manager report?
I am.
All right. Okay, so we know on June 27th, which is a Tuesday, we're gonna be meeting at 6 p.m. that evening. We know we're gonna be discussing potential houseboat ordinance. And we know we're gonna be talking about the makeup of a mooring committee. So I've got several other ideas of things that we could talk to, and this is gonna be our first workshop meeting, but I've got more things on our list and we're gonna have time for that evening. So I need some direction from you guys. So one of the things that I had arranged previously was a demonstration for an AV system for this room from a vendor. So.
Yes, why don't we get moving on that?
Okay, so I will include that.
Yeah, please.
Additionally, we could continue our conversation on the revaluation and whether or not we want to pursue that or not, because if we do, it's a process of putting out a request for proposal, gathering those up, and then we go through the process of choosing someone, negotiating the contract. And as you heard from our assessor at the last meeting, he's booking for 2 years out. So it's just a matter of if and when you want to engage in that conversation.
I think that's gonna be a long conversation, so I would probably say, I wouldn't recommend it at that meeting.
Okay, that's what, why don't I go through these and then you guys decide which of these things that you want to include at the next meeting. Also, we have a moratorium on quarries right now. And so we need to develop an ordinance that regulates quarries and gravel pits. And so talking with our code enforcement officer, he smartly suggested that the planning board needs some guidance from the council about what it is that you're looking to accomplish in such an ordinance, because that will sort of give them their marching orders, working with KV-COG in order to develop an ordinance of that sort. So that's another issue to potentially consider. And just keep in mind, the clock is ticking on that moratorium. So we probably want to do something sooner rather than later. And while we're talking about developing ordinances, we might also want to talk about the planner position.
Thank you.
It was funded in the budget, but now it's a matter of, do you want me to go forth and start pursuing the hiring of such a person? So that could be a discussion for that meeting. Also, you know what, we'll save this for later on. I got 2 other things, but I think that's enough to say grace over right now.
I think those 3 things, the quarry, the planner, and the demo, I think
Okay.
that's enough. That's my opinion.
And we're also going to discuss houseboat ordinance too.
Yes,
Yeah.
Let's
funny.
Let's ask Anthony to send that out to us by email, and so we can all think about it and tell you what to do next meeting.
The next meeting is when we'll be discussing these things.
Yeah.
But you can send that out by email to us tomorrow, next
Joe, I
day.
think we're agreeing to it now. So we're gonna have that.
Yeah, we need to agree to it. We need to agree to it now versus deliberating.
Yes, I think we-
Yes.
I think we need to do the quarry, okay? We need
So
to,
I'll hold off on for the reval discussion for another day.
Yeah.
And house.
Okay.
planner, house,
That's
and quarry.
That's more
And
than,
one more thing was on there. There's 4 things.
So again, houseboats,
Yep.
mooring committee membership.
Yep.
An AV demonstration,
Yeah, that's what it was.
quarry and planner.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah. So, and I just want to give everyone, including the public, a brief update of just things that we are working on right now. And that is Shannon and Elizabeth and I are meeting next week to discuss council rules, because those were adopted and have not been amended. They were adopted in 1985, a month before I graduated from high school.
oh geez.
And well, it wasn't that long ago.
I graduated in 84,
They don't take into consideration email or anything like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was no email in 1985, and so all the notices are meant to be mailed to people. So, which doesn't seem terribly efficient these days. So we're working on that, and eventually we'll bring a recommendation to the council to consider. On Tuesday, we'll be interviewing 2 candidates for the executive assistance position. So we've got 2 good candidates, so I'm hopeful there. And then lastly, I want to give kudos to a couple of our departments. And first of all is the library. And so some of you were at the candidates forum last Thursday night. It was excellent. I mean, the turnout was fabulous. Our library director, Richard Orton, and the volunteers that he recruited just did a spectacular job of moderating that event. And all of the candidates, I thought, comported themselves really well. I thought the voters were well served by that event. So if you see,
yeah.
if you see Richard, give him an attaboy, because it was a really great event. And then also, as you know, we had a big election here on Tuesday, and we had over 900 people voting, and everything went off without a hitch. And that is, all the credit for that goes to our 2 clerks, Sarah Quimby, our town clerk, and then Carrie Huff, our deputy clerk. And I was amazed. I figured I'd be here till late in the evening. Polls closed at 8. We were out of here by 9:30, even counting 900 votes and double checking each other's counts. So they recruited volunteers. We always need more volunteers for anyone who's interested. But again, if you happen to see the clerks, give them a couple of attaboys, because it was a really good day and evening. And that's all I have.
Good. I make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn has to be suspended until we find out if anyone else has any comments about any subject for us tonight. No, okay.
I'll second that
Adjourn
motion.
stance. Okay, all in favor? The record show all in favor.
Hey, thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Bill.
New person, I didn't know who was so right. I even understood what it meant. Right?